Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai. All praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth and who rule well. Peace and love, salutations and mercy be unto you, hopefully lakakim, that are hazarding your lives to push the true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You know, being the priests and the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, prophesying, you know, and heralding in the kingdom of Yahweh Shai, you know, preaching, you know, repentance, you know, teaching the gospel so that this truth can get out there, so that the Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, as well as all of the world, can hear this message. And the Israelites, you know, because to you is offered salvation, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, it's in your better interest to repent and give diligence to make your calling and election sure, walking in the fear of Yahweh and the faith of his only begotten Son. The scriptures say, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. All right, you're supposed to tremble and be in fear, knowing the judgment of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai that's coming upon the earth. So to escape those judgments, you need to grow in grace and in the knowledge of Yahweh Shai. All right, to the rest of you hopeful elect, you Akim and few Akwatim that are just believers, but that believe with their whole mind, body, and spirit, peace be unto you in Shalom. And Yahweh Shai is on his way. And before Yahweh Shai comes, Esau Edom is going to set up this Motb system. And he's going to force, through coercion, people to get upon the system. So the question is, who are you going to pledge your allegiance to? Is it going to be this Neo-Roman system, you know, that is set up based upon the ancient Roman system, but with the twist? Because now they have more advanced technology, and their technology they want to put under your skin by way of the Motb, which is the RFID CHIP and the brain CHIP, which they call surveillance under the skin, which also you have biometrics. You also have the IOB system, which is the Internet of Body, you know, all of the system that connects to the internet that allows them to monitor you. You also have the Internet of Things, which are wearable devices and devices that you interact with that are connected to the internet, such as, you know, a GPS system, you know, such as a tracking device, you know, whether it's for your dog or whether it's for your car, you know, those particular things are called the Internet of Things. All right, but you have similar technology, but it goes under your skin. You know, you have cochlear implants. You have, RFID chips. You know, you have many different things. And all of these things, you know, that are able to go under your skin will be presented unto you by way of this devil. All right. And they're going to use those particular devices as a litmus test to find out who's willing to be in allegiance to their system, you know, or who's against their system. Now, according to the scriptures, it says that there will be an election according to grace that will not bow down to the image of Baal. All right, see, there's an elect that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai has preserved for himself. The book of Romans, the 11th chapter, beginning at verse 4. But what saith the answer of Yahweh unto him? I have reserved unto myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so, then at this present time, there's is a remnant according to the election of grace. So there's a remnant according to the election of grace. Looking into this word remnant, the word there is
Strong's
Lime.
G 3005. Lima.
And it says a remainder, a remnant. All right. The root of that is lipo, which means to leave. All right. Leave behind. To be left behind. All right. To leave. Now the scripture speaks about those being left behind, being delivered by Yahushua. All right, when he returns in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. And that's whom we want to be a part of. And that's the reason why we're striving to give diligence. That's the reason why we're walking in the fear of Yahweh. The scripture says perfecting holiness in the fear of Yahweh. Scriptures also speaks about keeping the word of Yahweh's patience. All right, keeping the testimony of Yahushua. All right, those that keep the word would not pledge allegiance, all right, to the system. They would not bow down to worship the image of the beast. All right, they would not receive the Motb, which is the mark, all right, of this particular beast system that is set up to favor ancient Rome. All right, but as I said earlier, with the twist, all right, because instead of worshiping actual idols, all right, they want you to worship this system that is set up after ancient Rome. And instead of receiving a brand, all right, as particular soldiers or slaves or people that were within our particular, positions within ancient Rome will receive a brand, all right, upon them in regards to a mark or a stigma. All right, they want you to receive their technology underneath the skin. Now, when you go into ancient Rome, all right, you had litmus tests that was done in regards to seeing who was in allegiance to Rome. All right, because you had this truth, all right, which they call Christianity, but really it's the gospel, the good news, all right, which was being prophesied concerning Yahushua. And you had Israelites that were all over that were turning from the worshiping of idols, all right, these Greek idols, all right, these Greco-Roman idols, to the worshiping of our Lord and Savior Yahushua. And for those that would worship Yahushua instead of worshiping the gods of the state of ancient Rome, the gods that were endorsed by the state of Rome, are worshiping these emperors, because you had imperial cult worship as well. They were being put to a litmus test, and that litmus test was to bow down and worship, these particular deities. All right, openly sacrifice unto them. All right, openly burn incense unto them. And for those that would not burn incense unto them, all right, they were put to the test. All right, they were tortured. They were boiled in oil. They were hung on crosses. They were crucified. They were made to battle animals within coliseums. They were made to battle gladiators within coliseums. They were made to battle each other. They were in prisons. All right, they were beaten. They were tortured. So similar things are going to happen during this time. And that's the reason why the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. All right, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope, because we know of the promises and how the true believers are going to overcome through Yahushua. Now, imperial cult worship was decreed, all right, by the state to worship the leaders as gods within ancient Rome. And also you had the gods that were endorsed, all right, by the states. And this right here created an order. But by way of this truth being preached, the order was disrupted. That's the reason why you read particular scriptures and it speaks about this. This is the book of Acts, the 17th chapter, and verse 6. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, these that have turned the world upside down are come hither. So when this truth was being preached in Rome, when it was being preached in Ephesus, when it was being preached in Thyatira, when it was being preached in Laodicea, when it was being preached in Smyrna, when it was being preached in Pergamum, all right, when it was being preached in Sardis, when it was being preached in Anatolia, which is Asia Minor, all right, when it was being preached in all of these places, all right, this gospel was turning those places upside down. All right, you had men that was prophesying this truth the same way that we're prophesying it now. But now we have even more understanding than they did. So things were getting stirred up. The word there for upside down is anastatu. And it says to stir up, excite, unsettle, to excite tumults and seditions in the state, to upset, unsettle minds by disseminating religious error. So you had those that were believers that were getting turned up against those that were non-believers, and you had those that were non-believers that was getting turned up against those that were believers. All right, so there was a bunch of chaos and things that were going on and tumults that were going on amongst these particular states. So eventually what was decreed was that those that profess themselves to be followers of the Messiah would have to sacrifice unto Roman deities, all right, or would have to sacrifice unto these emperors that were looked at as being deities or being gods. So this was done as a litmus test to see who was in allegiance to Rome and who was not. And eventually what was done was those that were not in allegiance to Rome were killed or tormented. So they're getting ready to do the same thing in this time, but taking the Motb will be the form of litmus that will be issued to find out who's in allegiance to this great whore or this beast system that is set up to resemble ancient Rome all over again. So this truth being preached in ancient Rome was pulling down Rome. This is the reason that Rome fell. Although they'll attribute the fall of Rome to many other things, the money, inflation, poverty. You had people that didn't want to work. You had people that became impoverished to the point where the government had to support them. So they had to create a welfare system. You had debauchery, you had decadence. You had particular famines and things that were happening. Although these things help to attribute the fall of Rome, really, what should be given the great attribution is the fact that this truth was being preached, and this truth weakened the social structure of Rome. So by way of preaching this truth, we're weakening the social structure of America and all of the rest of these Edomites states that are set up, or countries that are set up. This is the book of 2 Corinthians 10:4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. So see, we're pulling down the strongholds of Esau, Edom. We're pulling down their lies. And right now, one of the major lies that they're pushing is these miracles. These false miracles that are being done through their pseudoscience. See, as we speak, or as you're listening to this lesson, they're introducing a CBDC system. There's a particular article, which I'll put it in the description box, but the title reads that they're setting up, America is speaking about setting up a CBD system, which is a central bank digital currency system, to combat a run on the banks, because they know that people are getting ready to run to the banks and take all of their money out. Because of everything that's going on within this particular economy and the economies of the world. So in order to combat that, they're going to cancel and do away with cash, and they're going to implement a CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, which is going to be attached to their digital ID, all right, which is going to be attached to the Motb, which is the RFID CHIP, which will be surveillance under the skin. And once this is done, this is total control that they'll have over your life, which means that you'll never be able to go against them if you receive this. But those that will not receive it will be shut out from this system. Now, preaching this truth will become an offense, all right, in so much that they're going to cast you in jail, they're going to cast you in prison, and they're going to do all manners of horrible things against you, all right, to persuade you by way of coercion into pledging allegiance. But for those that will not, all right, you will overcome through the faith in Yahushua. All right, you will overcome through the faith in Yahushua. Now, to grab an example, the book of Revelation 2:8, it says, and unto the angel of the church of Smyrna, right, which the word Smyrna goes back to myrrh. All right, and myrrh is one of those precious ointments that can be used for anointing. All right, within ceremonies dealing with death. All right, they used it to, embalm the body. All right, to keep the body from decaying, or having that stench or stink. All right, it can also be used to take away pain. All right. It says, these things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. See, Yahushua was dead, but Yahushua lives. And for all those that overcome, even if you die in Yahushua, you will live. All right, Yahushua is the first of many brethren to receive the resurrection from the dead. Reading on, it says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say that they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Yeah, because within Smyrna, you had Israelites, or Jews of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, that was helping the Romans to catch Israelites that were believing in Yahushua and to bring them to the Colosseums to be made a spectacle of, all right, to fight beasts, to be tortured. All right, these were their own kind, their own kinfolk, if you will. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you shall be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Which means that you will live. You will receive salvation. All right, although you may die, all right, you're going to live. All right, Yahushua is going to preserve you and make you alive. All right. So this happened to particular individuals. All right, such as an individual, according to legend or according to tradition, whose name was Polycarp. All right, now according to legend or according to tradition, Polycarp was brought to a Colosseum, all right, where they tried to coerce him into worshiping Roman idols, all right, or worshiping the emperors through the imperial cult worship. All right, they called him an atheist because he wouldn't worship their idols. And he said that he would not turn away from worshiping Yahushua, who has been the savior, all right, from his youth up, to worshiping these particular idols who they were trying to threaten him into worshiping. So even though they gave him the penalty of death, which they said that they would give his body into the lions, and he said, bring them on, bring the lions on, bring them on. So when they saw that he wasn't afraid of the lions, they said that they would give his body unto the fire. And he said, basically let it be, which eventually they did try to burn him. But when they saw that the flames embraced his body, in which the flames encircled around him, and like I said, this is in the the Bible, but this is just according to tradition, which Polycarp was, according to tradition, he was made the bishop of the church of Smyrna by the Apostle John. So he wouldn't worship their idols, so eventually they tried burning them, and when they seen that the fire wouldn't kill them, then that's when they gave the command to a soldier to stab him. But as you can see that the fire, according to this tradition or according to this legend, the fire didn't have any power over his body. So going back to Revelation, the 2nd chapter, in the 11th verse, and he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death, because the second death will be thermonuclear destruction. So the second death will be caused by fire. Now, those that have fallen asleep in Yahushua, the book of 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, in the 13th verse, reads this: But I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe Yahushua died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahushua will Yahweh bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of Yahushua, that they which are alive and remain unto the coming of Yahushua shall not prevent them which are asleep. For Yahushua himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of Yahweh, and the dead in Yahushua shall rise forth first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with him in the clouds to meet Yahushua in the air, and so shall we ever be with Yahushua. So see, being caught up into the chariots, you will escape the second death. Therefore, the second death will have no power over you. The book of Revelation 20:6, blessed and holy is he that hath part of the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power, but shall be priests of Yahweh and of Yahushua, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Revelation 20:14, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So the fire will be the second death. All right, now all of those that receive the Motb, guess where they're going to end up at? The book of Revelation, the 14th chapter, and beginning at the 9th verse. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead and in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture in the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever received the mark of his name. See, that's the second death, which will be the thermonuclear destruction that the wicked will be destroyed in. Now, going from here back to the book of Revelation 2:12, and to the angel of the church of Pergamos, right? These things saith he that hath the sharp sword with two edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. So within Pergamos, within Smyrna, within where the 7 churches of Asia Minor is, we're in, all of the places that were Roman provinces. You had the imperial cult worship that flourished in those cities. All right. And you had particular temples that were set up as guardians for the Roman imperial cult. All right, you had the first temple that was erected to Augustus in 29 BCE. You had other temples that were later erected to honor Trajan, Caracalla. All right, you had the Emperor Domitian, who made these temples pretty much a litmus test for the civic loyalty. So to prove your loyalty to the state of Rome, you would have to bow down and you would have to pledge your allegiance. You would have to show that you're down with Rome by way of worshiping these particular idols, worshiping these particular deities. You would have to burn incense unto them. And by way of you doing that, they would know that you're not a follower of Yahushua, and they would know that you were loyal to Rome. So this is one of the reasons that you had Polycarp that was killed, and also Antipas of Pergamum, which you had Antipas that was going throughout Pergamum that was healing, in the name of Yahushua. He was healing diseases, he was healing sicknesses. But there you had the dedication and the worship to the god Asclepion, all right, which is a Greek god, but it's also a Greco-Roman god, and it's a god of medicine, it's a god of healing, all right, although it's a false god, which you had the priests of the temple of Pergamum that became jealous because you had a lot of people that were leaving their faith to turn to worshiping Yahushua. They left polytheism to monotheism, all right, to the worship of the one true God through his son Yahushua. And when they came to get Polycarp, they tried to force him to bow down and worship their deities. And he said, why should I worship, the demons that are afraid of me, that run from me, a mortal man, a man that's in the flesh? And he said that he would not, So they tried to persuade him. They said, well, look, these idols are older than Yahushua. They've been around longer than Yahushua, in which they didn't. Because Yahushua was the first spirit that was ever created. All right, he's the only begotten of the Heavenly Father. All right, and Yahushua created everything else. Yahushua was created by the Heavenly Father, and Yahushua created everything else. So when he would not be persuaded, according to tradition, according to legend, they took him and they put him in a bull. And while he was within that brazen bull that they would use to cast out the demons for the people that would come unto them, or to do sacrificing to the demons, Antipas was within, that brazen bull, praying unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and would not stop, and he was praying for the church, and they said that it was like he fell asleep. Now, when they went to take his body out, according to tradition and according to the legend, there was no smell of smoke on his body. There was no stain of smoke on his body. His flesh wasn't burnt, which shows you that fire or that heat would not have, power over those that are the true worshipers and the followers of Yahushua. But unto those that are wicked, unto those that will pledge their allegiance to Rome, that will bow down and worship the image of the beast, and that will show that they're down with the system through, receiving the Motb, which is the RFID, CHIP, and the brain CHIP, through this litmus test that Esau Edom is going to put forth. All right, that fire will consume and burn them. Now, the scriptures say in the book of Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, because they're getting ready to decree this unrighteous decree. They're going to make it a law. They're going to make it mandatory for people to receive this. Now, going from here to the book of Revelation 13:11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, which is America, and had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. Speaking as a dragon, because going back to Dracon, the Athenian legislator, all right, he punished the most minute things by way of penalty of death. All right, he was harsh through his draconian measures. And that's the reason why you have something called the draconian measures. All right, going back to that individual. Well, this system is getting ready to speak like that, or this country is getting ready to speak like that. All right, through the draconian measures. Reading on, it says, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, which is ancient Rome, and causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Yeah, because Rome fell, but then it came back into power during the Renaissance era. That's the reason why you have when the ECC was being established, you know, which eventually became the European Union. You had something called the Treaty of Rome. All right, let's go to Google real fast and let's look it up. The Treaty of Rome, or ECC, EEC, brought about the creation of the European Economic Community, the best known of the European communities. The treaty was signed on March 25th, 1957 by Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands and West Germany, and it came into force on January 1st, 1958, which shows you that this is Rome all over again. All right? Now, reading on from here, it says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Yeah, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you know, and the other two cities that were done by America is recorded right here within the scriptures under biblical prophecy. Verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. Because through their technology, all right, through their pseudoscience, they're persuading people within the world that it's the best idea to receive this Motb, all right? Showing that you could pay, all right, with it. You could unlock doors with it. You could start a car with it. All right, if you're blind, you can see again. If you are sick, you'll be healed. If you're paraplegic, you can walk. But none of these things are actual true healings. You are not actually healed. So therefore, thus making this a lie. All right, this is pseudoscience. Through his pseudoscience, he's persuading the world to trust in his technology over trusting in Yahweh and trusting in Yahushua. 2 Thessalonians 2:8, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Yeah, because Yahushua is going to get in their ass when he comes. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Now, lying wonders is what? Lying wonders is pseudos. All right, pseudos. Lying is pseudos. All right, intentional falsehood. So these are not true miracles. Now, it mentioned that there was an image, all right, that was made unto the beast that all should worship, and that as many, reading verse 15, and cause that as many as should not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, to grab two words, all right, one, grabbing the word for image, all right, which the word there is icon. Now, it doesn't have to be an actual image of silver and gold, in which in this case it's not. It's not an actual image of silver or gold. It's not an image of Cesare Borgia. All right? It also can be used as likeness, use of the moral likeness, all right? It also says, one in whom the likeness of anyone is seen. So when you look at America, when you look at their buildings, when you look at their infrastructure, the language that's used within their governments, the language that's used within their court system, their botanical system, you know, the constellations, you know, all of these things, the days of the week, all of these things are set up after ancient Rome. Are their laws, their legislation, even their system, the Senate that speaks through, the Congress that speaks through Senate. All of these things are set up at the ancient Rome. All right? So it's dealing with the representation or resemblance. So America resembles ancient Rome. Now let's grab the definition of resemblance. All right, which are the state of resembling or being alike, a way in which two or more things are alike. See, there's many different ways that America and Rome is alike. First of all, the capital, or Washington D.C. was originally where it is. It was originally called Rome. In the river that runs through that place, all right, was similar to the Tigris River that runs through Rome. All right, or the Tiber, Salakia, the Tiber. All right, there's many different ways that America is like ancient Rome. Now, this system that they want people to bow down and worship, in which if they don't, those that will not worship this image, all right, that is creating unto the beast, which is this whole system, all right, that they should be killed. Now, the word for killed is apakteno. And it says also to abolish, all right, it says to put to death, to slay, figuratively to destroy. All right, I think there's a root. All right, it also goes into apo, which means to separate. So they'll separate you from the society. They'll separate you from the system. Now, going from here to verse 16, and he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. See, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of men, and his number is 666. So see, this system is a system of servitude. All right, it's a system to set up, to show, all right, who's going to be, who wants to make themselves a perpetual slave, all right, and to the rich elites that are ruling through this Neo-Roman Empire. All right, the RFID chip will be a litmus test to prove who's willing to bow down and to be a part of this system perpetually. All right, it's also to number Israel. All right, it's also to count people in regards to a census. All right, and it's also will be used for censorship. All right, there's another article which I'll probably do another lesson on it, but it speaks about how your social media could possibly give you a particular score. All right, there's also going to be a social credit score. And based upon your social credit score will determine how you're able to interact within the society. All right, like the movie Out of Time with Justin Timberlake. All right, those that will not join into the system, all right, those that will not receive the carnal mark will be ostracized from the society. They will be shut out. They will be separated. Now, going into the 18th verse, all right, because let those that have wisdom or let those that have understanding, all right, which means being able to use, it says a particular mode of thinking and judging, in example, thoughts, feelings, purpose, desires. All right, it says perceiving and understanding, and those of feeling, judging, determining. So let those that have understanding pretty much reckon or count what the number of the beast is. All right. Now you have Kaisai stigma. Now, the word stigma, what does it mean? When you go into the book of Galatians, the 6th chapter, in the 17th verse. All right, it says, let no man henceforth trouble me. For henceforth let no man trouble me, for I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Yahushai. Now, Yahushai didn't have the Motb, of course. He didn't have the RFID CHIP, of course. All right. But the action of piercing his hands and his feet was the act of a stigma, because they used a sharp instrument to pierce his skin. Now, Esau in these days is going to use a sharp instrument to pierce the skin of those that are in allegiance, or that want to be down with this system. And the action of piercing is called a stigma. And it says, a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to. So you had soldiers that would receive a mark upon their hand, basically to say what platoon they belonged to, or what legion they belonged to, and also who was their legionnaire, all right, who was their commander, all right, what particular branch of that army they belonged to. So there was branding in that regard. But then you had some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. So you had cult worship, in which within that cult worship, you had devotees that were being stamped as well. All right. So they received that stamp to prove under a civic litmus test that they were loyal to the state of Rome. So they're going to do the same thing during this time with the RFID CHIP and the brain CHIP, which will be a badge of servitude, because ultimately you're making yourself a slave unto them. Now, this is the root word, which is stizo, which means to prick, a mark, incise, or punch for recognition of ownership. See? An example, figuratively, the scarf service a mark. Now, going back to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter in the 16th verse. And for the word mark, you have the word charagma, which it says a stamp, an imprint, and mark. And it says a scratch or etching, an example, a badge of servitude. See? So they're going to come with this mark pretty soon, and they're going to make it mandatory. And they're going to do everything that they possibly can, throwing it at people to coerce them. And for those that would not bow down and receive it, you're going to be shut out from the system by way of being separated. All right? You won't be able to buy. You won't be able to sell. You won't be able to get health care. You won't be able to go to a hospital. Pregnant women won't be able to go to hospitals. Sick people won't be able to go to hospitals. All right? You won't be able to buy. You won't be able to work. All right? You won't be able to do shit. All right? The only thing that you could do is either receive it or have faith in Yahushai. So ultimately, who are you going to pledge your allegiance to? Are you going to pledge your allegiance to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, or are you going to pledge your allegiance to this neo-Roman system? All right, and receive the Motb. Because determined on who you pledge your allegiance to will determine your salvation. See, Esau is going to offer the Motb as a form of salvation, but those that receive it will be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. Those that trust in Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, and although they may be in prison, although they may be killed, they will live again, and they will be delivered from prisons, and they will be delivered from the destruction by way of going into the chariots. So with that, I truly hope that this lesson was edifying. All praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace and love, say, taste, and mercy be unto the hopeful elect. A shalom and a baba ball. And the water Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai for allowing us to do lessons like these. A shalom.